Hey guys, what's up? It's GVKcollectibles, and you know what day it is? It is Mythical Mountain Monday, of course, a show where I go back and take a look at some of my favorite comics that I got from the previous week. So, here's some of the comics that I got from the previous week. It is actually a relatively shorter pull, smaller pull, I should say, than I normally get. So I actually had a smaller kind of pull than normal, which is okay. That usually happens. Sometimes I have like a bunch of books, sometimes I only have a few. So this is going to be kind of a shorter week. So, but there was a lot of great stuff going on. Some honorable mentions I kind of want to mention before we jump into my favorites. I think Vampirella continues. It continues to be fun, really interesting with the Interstellar story arc coming to a close, which was really fun. Christopher Reese, I think, has been doing a really great job with the Vampirella run. It's very interesting and unique compared to like something like Vengeance, which Vengeance continues a story that had been set up in the 90s. This very much is something completely different, a lot more character, I think, focus, even though I think both stories are really character focused. This one really emphasizes like Vampirella and like kind of humanizes her a lot more, which like is a thing that usually goes because she's not human. Spawn was really interesting. It continues off to where Spawn 318 left off, and also Spawn universe in general, which has been really fun. Spawn, just in general, I think has been a fun book. I've kind of jumped into the book, but I've jumped into the book late, but I think it's really fun, especially, and I've been wanting to get more into Spawn with all the Spawn universe stuff going on right now, which is really fun. Blade Runner was really cool, really excellent, I think, very unique and cool, because it's like, it's really cool. Blade Runner, like, the book just continues to be a phenomenal book. I can't wait for the next issue. As I said, Vampirella was really good. I actually picked up the second printing of Basilisk, which was, I actually thought was the next chapter, or thought was like the chapter, the one that I had. The first issue was just a prelude. This is just a reprint of the first issue, but it is kind of cool because you actually do get a preview for Enter the House of Slaughter, which is the free comic book day tie-in for Something is Killing the Children. And it was actually pretty cool because they actually give details of how the Order works, especially when they're cleaning up, doing the fighting killing the monsters and everything, and like the kind of business focused side of that. So that was really cool to focus on. So with that out of the way, let's just jump into some of the comics that I read this week. And at number 5, of course, I read, this one's a little lower. It is issue 10 of Department of Truth. So, and I also got this cool variant cover at Coliseum Comics, which is a really cool shop. But I mainly, as I said, with Mythical Mountain Monday, get all my comics main pull at Mythical Mountain. So, basically what we're learning is this whole issue is dedicated to Bigfoot, talking about the cryptics and everything, which is really cool. And you actually get a backstory with this particular, oh god, what is his name? Henry, I believe. But there is actually a character who is kind of on the hunt for Bigfoot, and we kind of learn of like that there is the other side. Hawk and Cole are working together still, to the much of the chagrin of Cole, but we get to meet a new character called Bella, and she basically, what she does is she hunts these cryptics that are unlike stuff like the end of the world, that kind of thing, like the ice wall at the end of the world. So cryptics are actually, there are different categories that are given to these. There are like the hauntings and everything there, which is class 1, class 2, which is like close encounters, and also angels are into that category, and also class 3, which is the cryptics, aka the critters, which they just kind of roam around, and it's actually really interesting because because they're not it's interesting because whenever like somebody believes these things, usually they pop out once in a while. So that kind of explains of like when you get like sightings of Bigfoot once in a while, is because like within the Department of Truth universe, those ideas and stories, like the ideas of like Bigfoot like appearing in reality, and they're also just mean. And it's also like we learn that there are people who hunt these, like go hunting for cryptics, like who want to discover that they are real, what we learned is Bella actually, who are there, the hunters who, like, because they know that these things not exist, but they've been conjured into the reality. So what she does is she actually kills, basically hunters, because to get kind of rid of the idea of these cryptics, which is really, really good. This issue was a lot slower, a lot more dialogue. I do love the backstory of, like, this one, one character who is a hunter of Bigfoot. Like, he's trying to find out Bigfoot, and kind of goes throughout his whole history, which was really, really cool and really unique. Very something different that has been done in the Department of Truth comic. But, like, once again, Tyne does a really, really good job with the writing, and especially this side story of this character who is trying to find Bigfoot, who we know he is not long for this world, as like, the department is clearly looking for. And Bella, as she said, she does kill off these, like, the hunters who actually get to see these, the Bigfoot. So it is very, very interesting, very cool. But it's really, really fun. Department of Truth continues to be really fun, really creative, really, like, cool, just because it's just wacky, fun, kind of dealing with conspiracies. I'm really liking a lot of the stuff they're currently doing right now, talking about cryptics, because I really enjoy that kind of stuff. Even though they're not real, I do love the kind of cryptic zoology side of, like, myths and, like, kind of, not conspiracies, but just, like, the myths and ideas and everything. I really enjoy those. So, yeah, number 5 is Department of Truth. Number 10, pretty fun. Once again, it is a very slower issue compared to, I feel like, the other ones, but the writing is solid. The art is phenomenal, as always. So, jumping in, this one's actually kind of unique. I am not going to try to name all, I'm probably not going to put all the creative teams, because this is a big book. It is Green Arrow's 80th anniversary special, and I gotta say, one thing that I really do enjoy with these books is the amount of, like, these, like, if it's Detective Comics 27, the Asian Hero Festival, the LGBTQ issue, each, like, I feel like in general when I was reading this, there wasn't a bad story out of all of these. Like, it's really, really cool. You get, like, writers like Mariko Tamanaki, who's doing Detective Comics. You got Tom Taylor, who's doing Nightwing, Stephanie Phillips, Ram V, Brandon Thompson, Larry O'Neill, Jeff Lemire, Benjamin Percy. Like, you have a lot of these creative teams working on this character, and it's really, really well done and cool, and it shows, like, the grander side of Green Arrow, which is really, really cool. Some of my favorite stories, I think, was, let me see if I can find the one that is my favorite, one of my favorite stories. It is a story called, I think this is Green Man and Autumn Sun, where it's basically Roy telling his daughter, like, his whole history with Green Arrow as a kind of legend, because actually Roy was raised by Navajo, like, in a Navajo tribe, which was really, really interesting, and it kind of passing down the stories, which was really, really cool, and it gives kind of the history of, like, Roy and Green Arrow, especially when Green Arrow left and the big ol', and when Roy got addicted to heroin, which was really, really cool. Like, I think it's a really, really cool thing this whole story does. A lot of these books do, is they touch upon all the characters of the Green Arrow family, like Black Canary, Arsenal, Roy Harper, Arsenal aka Roy Harper, and a lot of the extended family, and it touches upon each, like, kind of different moments in Green Arrow's history, which is really, really cool and well done. Like, and for somebody, this is coming from somebody who isn't necessarily the biggest Green Arrow guy, not to say that I dislike the character, I'm just not big into reading him. A lot of the stories were solid. Jeff Lemire's story was really, really cool, and one that actually made me teary-eyed was a tribute to Denny O'Neil, who was he was instrumental of making Green Arrow, the character we all know and love today. A lot of people know and love today, like, very kind of brash, headstrong, like, liberal thinking, kind of progressive kind of politics character, because Green Arrow is very, like, out there with his politics. But it was really, really cool, and it's written by Larry O'Neill, the son of Denny O'Neill. But it's very, very thoughtful, very great, and it was really, really sad just because of how instrumental Denny O'Neill was to a lot of these characters in the 70s and the 60s and 70s. So yeah, I mean, I will put because if you could find this, it is 100 pages, but a lot of the stories I think are phenomenal. I think they're really well done. Each one of them having great art on them. I will, if you can find this still at your local comic book store, I definitely suggest picking it up because it is a fantastic book. With my next story, the next book, I guess number 3, it is Dr. Aphra, number 11, and it is it's a tie-in to War of the Bounty Hunters, and it is the return of Dirge into canon. Now, he had a cameo in issue 10 of Dr. Aphra, but this is his first full appearance again in canon. Also, first appearance on cover too, which is really, really cool. So Dr. Aphra and Santa are sent by Domina's Tag, who are looking for Domina's criminal cousin, essentially going to this barge where he was invited to go to the Crimson Dawn auction. But as soon as Dr. Aphra and Santa get there, everybody's dead on the ship, and we don't know exactly why everybody is dead. So it is very, very interesting to see, like, kind of, you got this kind of mystery of what the hell is going on. But we also cut to Luck and his friend, his acquaintance, Artio Royce, who's, like, they're hunting down essentially this, oh god, what's his name? It is, like a, Dilvis, I believe. I'll put the correct name right there, because it's a very Star Wars name. And, well, there is a character they want to, this character is who they're working for, like their crime boss that they're working for is sending them to assassinate a former member who is marked as a traitor and who trained these two kids as to be bounty hunters and assassins. So it is very interesting for them. Luck is kind of having second feelings about it, which is very interesting, which is the side story. We don't get really too much with that, just only a quick thing, but we do get introduced to Dirge, and he looks amazing. So the unique thing with Dirge for me is he didn't really talk all too much within the Clone Wars microseries by the Getty one, so it was kind of interesting to see him talk, but he looks phenomenal. He looks exactly like how he does in the older comics, which looks really, really cool. We really don't know too much about him, but we know he is a bounty hunter, and that he was looking for Eben Drake, who is, as we know, is dead. But then we discovered that there are these giant frickin' worms, like these parasite worms that are kind of after, and they are the ones who kind of kill everybody on the ship. So it's really, really cool just because you get to see Aphra, Stanisaros, and Dirge working together. Dirge looks really, really cool. It just kind of shows him kind of coming back with full force of him being back into canon, which is really, really cool. And he kind of sets a distraction, gets all the, like, these bugs, and he gets jettisoned into space by Aphra, which he will remember. And he said he is notoriously hard to kill, so I think there's a big majority of that origin that he's kind of like all these like little worm things, essentially. He's still very much hard to kill. But then what we learn, Domina Tag essentially learns about her brother's death, and eventually she's sending Aphra and Saros to represent the Crimson Dawn, like the meeting with Crimson Dawn with Han Solo. So it's the idea Santa is actually kind of wanting to probably save Solo just because they have that relationship with each other, which is very interesting. But yeah, much like the other issues of War of the Bounty Hunters that are tie-ins directly, they're really kind of just characters learning about Crimson Dawn, but there's also cool stuff going on. So we have Dirge, who I think is going to be a main player within the regular series as well. So it is very cool. I mean, I've enjoyed the Dr. Aphra book. Alyssa Wong does such a great job with writing. I think and making Aphra really, really fun. Dirge was really awesome. It was cool to see him back in canon. So yeah, and I do think this book will definitely spec in price. Hopefully, if they decide to do more with Dirge outside of the comics, he's going to be a big character. So I don't know if they will, but I highly doubt. Like, I have small doubts that they wouldn't do anything with Dirge. So with my next number 2 comic, it is X Factor number 10. Now, big spoilers alert for this book. And unfortunately, this is the last of X Factor, which I'm very, very sad, mainly just because Polaris, for those of you who know, who's been going on within the main X-Men book, she is going to be on the new X-Men team. So they wanted, and there was the idea that they wanted to continue the book without her. They could have rearranged that, but they decided just to end the book, which is very sad because this creative team, I think this is definitely one of the most fun X books. Like, while I like X-Force, I like Hellions, this is just, I think, just a feel-good book. And it's kind of weird for me to say that because it mainly focuses on them investigating death within, like, the mutants' deaths. So it is really, really cool. And you actually do get some tied-up stories. Prodigy finds out who his killer is and kind of brings him to justice at the end of the book, which is really, really great. But you get to see a lot of these cool moments with characters. But, like, Prodigy actually does encounter this... his killer, and he kind of brings him to justice, which is really, really cool, because it kind of, like, ends a lot of the people's story arcs with everybody, with this story, which I really appreciate. Usually, a lot of times, books don't get that pleasure of really wrapping up people's storylines, so it was really cool to see Prodigy's story, kind of, and him kind of deal with the idea of finding out who his killer was, but... It's really, really cool, because then there's this huge bombshell at the end of the issue. With the previous issue, I know how I talked about how Scarlet Witch and Magneto had a meeting and they talked with each other, but she's dead at the end of this issue, so it's, like, kind of incredible of, like, what the hell happened? And we don't know exactly what's going on, so this is going to lead directly into the Trials of Magneto, which I think will lead directly into Inferno, so it's going to be very interesting. All we know is people are thinking it is Magneto, because she was the last one to see Wanda, so it is going to be very interesting. Ultimately, what this could mean, I don't think Scarlet Witch is truly dead. I think this is just a way for them to make her a mutant again, because I think in Access, they retconned, like, she wasn't a mutant and she wasn't Magneto's kid, so it is very interesting, and that was, like, that's been on for a while, but now since, like, mutants are becoming into the MCU, I think they're trying to tie it all in, and also it would kind of not make sense for them to kill... It's interesting that they kill Wanda just because of how big that character is, because of WandaVision now, and she also has a mini-series coming up soon, so I don't think she's truly dead, and it's also the idea... Somebody put the idea, I think, on a Facebook group that said, I can't remember exactly who it was, but he thinks that they are trying to make her a mutant again, so they're trying to retcon that, which makes sense, I think. But X Factor, really, really good. I think the whole team, the team as a whole, Leah Williams, David Beldon, if I'm pronouncing that right. Once again, I'll put all the creative teams down below, but they just did a phenomenal job on this book, and I'm very sad to see it end. I think it's a really, really good book, but whenever I see people in this book, like the team and everything, I am definitely going to pick up that book. Like, if they're going to be working on future books, I'm definitely going to be picking it up. But yeah, X Factor 10, really, really cool. It just has a huge bombshell at the end of it, of course, with the death of Scarlet Witch, which is kind of crazy to think that they killed off that character, but, like, at the same time, I don't think she's really dead, because they're probably going to bring her back. So it's going to be very interesting. So yeah, and for the final book of the day of Mythical Mountain Monday, it is, of course, this is kind of a shock to anybody, but it is Godzilla Rivals number 1. This is a one-shot, Hedorah, and it's actually cool because it is the 50th anniversary of Godzilla vs. Hedorah, which was a film that I wasn't too disliked, but I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it's one that I've kind of continuously fallen in love with. And it's really, really cool. This kind of continues the idea of Godzilla Legends, of where each issue is a one-shot story. And Rivals, I think, is a really, really cool idea. But, man, I gotta say, it continues with the idea of Hedorah and Godzilla fighting in New York, where there's a scientist who is trying, Todd, who is trying to save this scientist who can stop Godzilla and Hedorah. And it's really, really cool because they actually do play, like, within the script. While it is set in the 70s, they don't really do too much with the setting, but it is really, really cool to see Hedorah, like, to be as... because I feel like this is the biggest thing Hedorah has been in since... I know he was, I think, in a few of the other IDW comics, but he hasn't been really a main fixture in really any of the stories, so it is really, really cool to see it. And he does have that, like, once again, Hedorah is, like, a very like, a monster made by pollution, essentially. So he is a very kind of, like, toxic, of where if he gets on you, you can die, which I think was really, really cool and really well done, that they kind of brought that aspect back. And also, to me, like, just generally, it feels like the story is very much a kind of a sequel to Godzilla versus Hedorah, because they do mention Tokyo, and they do mention Lagos, which is very, very cool, making me think, like, this is kind of a spiritual sequel to Godzilla vs. Hedorah, even though they don't outright say it. None of the characters return from Godzilla vs. Hedorah, but I do really, really like how it is kind of a continuous story with that. And what we learn is that there is actually this kind of ray that actually can can draw back Godzilla and Hedorah, but it will kill every possible human because it's kind of like a radiation base. So basically what it is like this ray that can absorb radiation and to draw them away. But it eventually draws them away, and the day is kind of saved, and they kind of go their own way. It's very interesting of where the idea of Hedorah, like, and there's always the idea of Godzilla and Hedorah, like, the reason Godzilla is fighting, Hedorah wants to pollute, but, like, like, to kill Godzilla, but it was very, very interesting. And the main reason I picked this as my top, because for a while, as a lot of people, I especially like Monsters and Protectors, which is very much an all ages book, as opposed to kind of the more traditional stuff that they did before, like Rose of Earth, Legends, Half Century War. Rivals seems like it is going to be kind of for the more adult-oriented audience, or general audience for Godzilla who don't necessarily want to read Monsters and Protectors, which I kind of don't see why, because it's a fun, fantastic book. But Rivals is really, really fun, and it is really cool that they gave the spotlight to Hedorah. Character who we haven't really seen all too much, I think, since Final War. He was in, like, the scripts he was, like, in the books and side stories of the anime trilogy, and a version of him, I guess, kind of appears in Singular Point. It's like a blue-looking thing. I don't know what he is exactly. It's kind of a weird mishmash of, but, like, a lot of the characters within Singular Point have unique and creative designs with each other. But, yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, Godzilla Rivals is just fun. I think it is a return to form of the much kind of what people are used to with the Godzilla comics for IDW, which I think is going to be really, really great, and I think a lot of people are going to have fun with the Rivals line. There is going to be a new one, which seems weird because a lot of these are really spaced out between each other. So we got, this one came out clearly this week, well, technically... like previous week, I should say. But there's going to be, the next one is going to be Mothra, and that one's going to be very interesting, and it also seems to be, it's going to be focusing on Mothra. It's also kind of cool because it's like versus Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, so they are kind of giving her that moniker, and it is a very Heisei looking fluffy Mothra design, which I really, really like. But yeah, Godzilla Rivals looks really, really good. I also have to say I really love the art by E.J. Su, and the colors by Adam Guzynski. once again, I'll put all the creative teams, but it looks very much like a 70s book, which I really, really like. They really nail that aesthetic of the 70s look, like with the hair and all the characters. They look like characters that would appear in a 70s Godzilla film, which I really, really like. But it is super, super cool. I would definitely suggest picking this up, because just to show the love for the Godzilla returning to Godzilla returning to IDW. I think it's really, really great. So yeah, that is Godzilla Rivals #1. So that is my #1 pick. And yeah, that is it for Mythical Mountain Monday. So yeah, once again, a lot of a shorter kind of video. Not a lot of books, but that was just because it was kind of a slower week. So yeah, if you guys liked the video, make sure to hit like and make sure to hit subscribe. Hit the little bell notification so you get notified when we upload Mythical Mountain Monday, What's the Box Wednesday, Figure Review Fridays. Also check us out on Instagram, me, GVKcollectibles, and Jack's Pop Guy. All links will be down below. Also check out my Facebook as well, and check out our Mercari shops. As always, links will be straight down below. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys had a great 4th of July for those of you who celebrated it here in America. And hopefully you guys, well, probably going to be still continuing the celebration today, just because that's kind of like the whole thing with 4th of July. It's a big thing, I think, for July. So if you got dogs, make sure they're well protected. Like, make sure they're all ready for fireworks, because they do get very jittery and scared. I know mine are. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace.